Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 350 reviews and an overall 4.95 star ratings, we picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your listing to go beyond just the basics. I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey everyone, this is Brittany Wenninger, and I have a special guest on the podcast today, and that is Ashley Lang. Ashley is one of those people that I actually look up to. We had a phone call, I would say about a month and a half ago, and it was a 45-minute phone call, and I was taking so many notes. Ashley is one of those people that I absolutely admire. Her portfolio is amazing. What she's doing with her business is absolutely amazing. And she's actually one of those people that I look up to and I would love to be, in 10, 15, however many years it takes me to get to where she's at is where I want to be. So, hi, Ashley. How's it going?
Oh, wow. That was an amazing introduction. I've got goosebumps here. That was so cool. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you. So let's just kind of start off. Where did you start? Because you have an amazing portfolio right now.
Yep.
Everyone would want to be where you're at. How did you even start and where did it all begin?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. It was actually by accident. I fell into short-term rentals by accident because we ourselves like to travel up north to the UP of Michigan because we were big snowmobilers. And so we decided that we were going to buy this short-term rental and we were going to use it and then just rent it out when we weren't there. Well, what actually happened is we bought it and furnished it, and I loved that entire process. And we rented it out, and what happened was it was booked solid. So I'm like, man, this is I gotta maybe not stay here. I maybe just gotta let this rent out, and maybe we'll buy another smaller house in town that we can stay at, right? So that's exactly what we did. We stopped going there. I opened up the calendars, full dates, and it was booked solid. And at the time, this market was not oversaturated, and so we were literally booked every single day. I would look at my calendar in the peak seasons, and every day was booked, which was really cool. This was back in 2018. So we, got into Airbnbs before it kind of was a thing. Right? And
yeah.
So since then, obviously the market's, kind of got a lot of Airbnbs now, but anyways, the calendars were full and it was awesome. And so we bought a second one almost immediately after. It was probably 4 or 5 months after we had bought that one, and a smaller one in town, and kind of the same thing. We were like, oh, we'll stay at this one. And the same thing happened where we were staying there and it was so booked when we were not staying. I was like, man, I think we got to open the dates here. So that's what we did. We opened the dates there, and then kind of the rest is history. But those were our first two and how we got into short-term rentals.
Would you say that the very first one had really nice furniture and kind of the trendy design? Because I know Airbnb, I would say even 5 years ago, wasn't where it's at right now, where you need the amenities, you need the cute design. So what kind of drove people to get to that first Airbnb that you launched?
Yeah, so I actually have a hidden talent of design. So I knew this, but I didn't realize how much I actually loved it. I've always been good at decorating my own homes and things like that, but I didn't realize how much I actually loved the process. And so I actually overdid it on the first one actually. And I had really nice furniture. I had beautiful decor. And so I wasn't like everybody else on the market at the time. Everybody else kind of, just kind of the hand-me-down, Goodwill type, secondhand type stuff is what we typically saw in the market. So I definitely stood out just because I I didn't go that route. I wanted to go and use my talents and actually decorate it really nicely.
And I feel like that guest would probably see that and be like, oh my gosh, like this is actually a cute Airbnb instead of like mom and pa's place, which that's kind of what it was back in the day.
Yep.
So where are you kind of going today? Because I'm sure that all your Airbnbs and midterms and long terms and all that stuff, they are all very trendy. If you already made your very first one trendy, you probably kept up with that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I ever since then, that part of the setup process is like my favorite. It's literally like the part that I look forward to the most. And I know that's the most chaotic part of the whole thing is like ordering and getting everything put in and where does it go and what do I need and all that stuff. But that's actually my favorite part. And so every time we added another unit, I just looked forward to that. And I developed processes for that part, obviously to make things go a little faster, but that is the part that I absolutely loved. And so yes, all of my rentals are very well decorated. I kind of spend a little bit more on the vacation side than I do on the midterm, but either way, they're both really nicely decorated. And that's probably one of the top comments that we get from our guests is that the place looks beautiful and everything is really nicely put together and very well stocked. Like I'm really good at knowing what the guest needs and making sure that it's there for them.
So a quick side question from that is when you find a property that you would like to purchase, do you already know like, hey, this is a midterm. I want to make it into a midterm or I want to make it into a vacation rental? Or are you saying, hey, this is a vacation rental. If it fails, then we'll just turn it into a midterm? Because I feel like that's what a lot of people do is that second route.
Yeah, so actually most of my midterms started as vacation rentals. So ever since the markets are getting a little bit more expanded, we've had to have backup plans, right? Like you always want to have an exit strategy or a backup plan when you're going in to do something like a short-term rental. And so one of our backup plans is to change to midterm. And so that's what we did. I honestly, most of my vacation rentals ended up getting turned into midterm. And it worked out really nicely, but not all. I have opened up some specifically midterm right away. And that was my goal. It really just depends on what it is that we're like focusing on and what it is that we want to do. Sometimes I actually turned a long-term rental into a midterm, right? Because I realized there was a demand for those, longer term furnished stays. So there was a lot of different processes to get to where I am today. But basically it was a collective of what is the need, what is the demand, and then always making sure we have a backup plan.
That's awesome. I never really even thought about having a long term and then changing that into midterm. I feel like, the level's always like vacation home, midterm, and then long term, but never kind of going backwards. But I guess we should back up a little bit and tell everyone what your portfolio is. So now they know like, all right, she has vacation homes, midterm, now long term. Can you kind of just, touch on that quickly?
Yeah. So we started in 2017 with long-term rentals. That was our first go-to. We found the Bigger Pockets podcast and kind of dove all into the long-term. And then the next year I stumbled upon short-term. And so we kept our momentum with the long-term, but then also I did a little side veer and kind of went into the short-term. But yeah, I have a collective of properties between long-term, midterm, and short-term. We've got about 15 or 16 long-term units, and then we have about 30 total short-term rentals, but only 4 of those are vacation rentals now. The rest are all midterm. So my portfolio actually mostly consists of midterm rentals now, which it just worked out that way really well. But I also love the vacation side as well. So that's pretty much what our portfolio consists of now.
I honestly love midterm because, you have those guests that are in there for 3, 4, 5 months. Usually they're there for, work or something, and they're not really a big headache. Not saying that vacation rentals are a big headache. Sometimes it can be. We all know that. But midterm just kind of seems like an easier route. Do you think that you are making more money on the midterm versus vacation homes, or is it kind of the same?
Yeah, so it depends on how you look at it because, short-term vacation rentals, they most likely can make you more money, but now you have more wear and tear on your property. You've got more staff that's needed to help with messaging and coordinating of all of the cleanings and maintenance and things like that. So I guess it depends on how you look at it, because midterm definitely doesn't require as much of that, because, I get the people that come in at 2 and 3 month stays, they check in and then I never hear from them again until they check out. So,
and you're like, are you alive? Are you all good?
I mean, I have automated messages that go out halfway through and things, just checking back in, but I typically don't hear from them again until they're ready to leave, or sometimes they extend their stay and things like that. But yeah, so I guess it depends on how you look at it. You're going to make less money with the midterms, I think, but it's a lot less headache, a lot less wear and tear, a lot less, staff that you're having to pay, things like that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So then you kind of touched base on the automations and the processes that you have. Do you have staff that is helping you out, or are you just like a one-woman show? Hopefully your husband's helping you out with anything and everything. So, do you have staff?
I would love to answer that question as I'm a superwoman and I do everything, but the answer is no, I do not do everything myself. There is no way with what I have going on that I could do it all myself. I just couldn't. So no, I have a full team that helps us, or that helps me kind of run everything. And I kind of sit at the top and oversee. And then if there's any major issues, I step in. I'm making final decisions on bigger decisions and things like that. But my little team below me is just kind of running the show, and it works out really well. So I have a full-time assistant that she runs pretty much everything under me. So everybody has to go through her to get to me. And then underneath her, we've got some other part-time VAs and things that help us with little things. And then I also have a part-time guy who just does price optimization for us. So he just focuses on revenue management and making sure that we're getting the most that we can for our units. And then we also have another guy that strictly does marketing. So he handles all of our Google My Business pages, and he handles the Facebook ads and things like that. So yes, we have a full team. And then on top of that, I also have an in-person assistant at an office here in the town that I live. And she handles all of the billing. She does all of the receipts. She gets all of everything to my bookkeepers. She pays all my cleaners, all my maintenance people. She gets them set up in our system, collects the certificate of insurance, all that stuff. So yes, I have a little mini army.
Ashley, this is seriously the goal. I would love to have something like you have. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All everyone that you're listing off, I'm like, yes, I need that person. I need that person. That is the ultimate goal. That's amazing.
Yep.
Do you think that with all the staff that you have, they let you kind of scale your business how it is today?
Yes, 100%. So this is the way I look at it, Brittany. I view myself as, let's just say I'm worth $300 an hour, right? And so if I'm worth $300 an hour, I can be out making $300 an hour, right? If I'm doing the $20 an hour work, not downgrading that at all. I'm just saying if I'm doing that, I can't be out doing and collecting the $300 an hour. So that's kind of how I started viewing it. And so I just looked at everything and I'm like, okay, there's this piece that I'm doing right now. How can I put somebody in here so that I can go out and do something else, get more business, add more units, whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing that nobody else can really replace. So that's kind of how I looked at it. And I just started bringing in pieces. But it went along with as I grew, because I couldn't hire this whole team at the beginning, right? I had to do it as I grew. And I was lucky enough to find really good people that were willing to work part-time for me. And I think that was the key, because I could have never hired full-time people right away. I just couldn't. I had to find people that would work for me part-time to fill in these little pieces. And eventually I got to a point, I just hired my full-time assistant, probably it was 8 months ago. So I just finally got to that point where I was able to hire a full-time person here just recently. So.
Alrighty, quick pause real fast, because if you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, Britt, I'm in. I want to launch my own Airbnb, but I need someone to walk me through it, then I've got you covered. I created a course called the Airbnb Roadmap Accelerator. It's literally everything I wish I had when I first started. This course is designed to take you step by step through the entire journey of launching a profitable short-term rental, from finding the right market, analyzing properties, setting it up, automating your systems, managing guests, and finally scaling smart. But here's the best part. It's actually affordable. Why? Because I'm a big believer that education shouldn't be price gouged. You shouldn't have to spend $5,000 to get the information you need to succeed, because you need that $5,000 to launch your Airbnb. This course teaches you the same strategies, the same tools, and the same systems as those high-ticket programs, just without the fluff and the huge price tag. And because you're a part of the Airbnb Roadmap community, you get a little extra something. Use the promo code in the show notes and you'll get $50 off the course just for being a listener. Whether you're just getting started or you got a property and need help pulling it together, the Airbnb Roadmap Accelerator course will get you moving with clarity and confidence. All right, back to the episode. That's awesome. From your very first vacation rental was in 2018. When do you think that you actually started scaling to the amount that you guys are at right now? And then another question on top of that one is, I know that your husband does help you out with all this stuff. He's kind of like the handyman, right?
Not anymore. He was.
Oh, okay.
He does help out with things, yes, but I have maintenance people that help out with everything on the properties.
Gotcha. Now, did he have a full-time job from the beginning and then he quit that to help out with the business? I know I kind of asked you like 100 questions right there, but my brain is like going all over the place right now.
Yeah. Okay. So when we started in 2017-18, I was involved in another set of businesses. I actually owned 4 CBD stores across Wisconsin. I don't know if
Well, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, I don't know if we shared that on our conversation. So I owned 4 CBD stores across Wisconsin. I was doing that full time. And then Buck was working in his W-2 position. He was a mechanical engineer. So I was doing the real estate stuff on the side, basically. And we knew we wanted to grow and scale so that I could, eventually have like this as a full business. But at the time, I was kind of focused on that until 2020 happened. So 2020 was not great for retail stores. And so I ended up selling 2 stores, closing 1. And so after that, 2020, I shifted my focus 100% back into real estate. And in that first year, between halfway through 2020 to halfway through 2021, we added like 25 units in a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we hit the ground and powered. Like I'm a workhorse too. I like to go. And when I set my mind to something, it's like, we're going, right? And
Yep.
And so that's what happened. I grew my CBD stores from 0 to 4 stores in 2.5 years. Right. So I just basically shifted that focus over into real estate, and I'm like, I got this. Let's do it. Right. So I shifted over to real estate. We added about 25 units that first year. And that was, I think, the momentum that we needed to grow and scale to where we're at today.
Now, the 25 units that you mentioned, were those long-term, midterm? What units were those? It was
a combination of all. I'll tell you that my coaches today, because we didn't hire coaches and masterminds back then, they would tell me that is the opposite of what you should be doing. You should be focusing on one thing and really just putting all your effort in there. And that's what I do today, but that's not what we did back then. So I wouldn't recommend going in all those different directions, because it does pull you away ever so slightly. And if I would have just picked a lane and focused, it might look very different today than it does. But anyways, we decided to go a couple different directions. So we went long-term, some were midterm. We'd added some vacation rental properties. So we kind of did everything all in that first year.
And I feel like that also kind of gives you a peace of mind too. Whereas like if the vacation rental didn't do great 1 month, but the long term kind of gave you some fluff money and all that stuff. Like, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, which is what my husband and I are doing. We put all of our eggs in Airbnb. And I know it's not the best practice, but I think down the road we will probably be investing in midterm and long term, just for kind of like our sanity, to make sure that, like, hey, if anything does happen with the short-term rentals, we are not in a pickle.
Yep.
So I think a diverse portfolio is one of the best portfolios, because then, you're not relying on just one thing.
And yes, you're right there. It definitely gave us some support, and just knowing that we had other things to fall back on. But also, on top of all what we were doing, we were also flipping houses. So we started off flipping 2 to 3 houses a year. And then last year, I think we flipped like 15. So on top of what we're doing here on the long-term, midterm, short-term side, we're also flipping houses. And Buck was able to finally leave his W-2 position in the end of 2022. So he kind of took over the flipping side. And then he did a lot of the maintenance stuff for us on both sides. So that's where his role sits now, is he kind of handles acquisitions, and he handles all of our flips and things. And then I kind of went back over and into the management and the short-term rental space.
So do you think that, real estate is Buck's passion, or did he just kind of like fall into it?
That's a really good question, because the answer is probably not. I had to do a lot of convincing to buy that first unit. We actually bought a duplex. So this was like probably the safest way you can go and get into real estate. We house hacked. So we bought a duplex. We lived in one side, and we rented the other side out. And he's military, so we got to use a VA loan.
Nice.
First property. Yep. And we still own that property today, actually. And it's a long-term rental, and it cash flows about $2,300 a month still. So yeah. So it's a really good property, but it took him a lot of convincing to do that. But now I think he understands and gets it. And I'm thankful that he was letting me kind of push him a little bit on that whole process, because we're just so thankful to where we are today. And so.
Do you kind of know what that point was for Buck, or was it just kind of like, hey, I'm swamped, I need your help?
Yeah. So honestly, if you haven't kind of gathered already, Buck and I are very different. If it were up to me, he would have left, 2 or 3 years prior to when he actually did, because you have to think about it. So if you're in a full-time job, you're not focusing on building, right? You're not focusing on building your portfolio and anything that you're trying to do. Imagine if you had that time. Like, could you at least replace your income, or if not double your income, with all of that time, right? So that's the way I look at it. And it's like, okay, so if you have the arsenal of tools, you understand everything, you've got a good grasp, right? Now imagine if you had 100% of your time to go and build. Like, what could you do? Right. So that's the way that I look at it. And it took him some convincing, because again, he was more a little bit more grounded than I am. I'm kind of like to float in the clouds a little bit, but it took him a little bit of convincing. It was funny, because after he quit end of 2022, we did 8 or 9 flips that next year. We added a ton more units. Like he more than almost tripled his income that first year that he was able to get.
Isn't that wild how that happens?
I know, it's crazy. And it's crazy how when you shift from working for somebody in somebody else's dream to shift to working 100% in yours and your vision and getting to where you want to be, it's just crazy how much things actually fall into place. And as long as you're doing all the right things, and we spent a lot of money on coaches and masterminds and things, because we didn't want to do all the things that I'll make all the wrong choices. We wanted to learn from the people that were making all the right choices, or already went through making all the wrong and now know what not to do. Right. So we hired a bunch of coaches, and we joined some masterminds and things. But yeah, I mean, we did everything that we were told to do, and we make way more money now than he ever did in his W-2. So I'm thankful that he finally decided to make the leap when he did.
Yep, 100%.
Yep.
So then what would you kind of give advice for like the first timers? Because a lot of people that listen to this podcast are first time investors and they are looking to buy their very first Airbnb. So is there anything that you would do differently back, when you bought your very first Airbnb was kind of a mistake,
It was.
but is there any advice that you can give those folks?
Yeah, I do. I actually have two things that I would recommend. One is to get around people doing the things that you want to do. Okay. So if you're surrounded by people that are going to sports games and going to the bar every night, I'm not talking down on that at all. That's totally fine if that's what you want to do. But if that's not the life that you want, don't be around those people. Get around the people that are doing the things that you want to do. And that was part of our reasoning for getting a coach and getting into a mastermind. At the time, none of our friends were doing what we were doing, right? And so we knew we had to step out of that circle to get to where we wanted to be. And that's what we did. We got around people that were doing big things. And when you're around people doing big things, the energy is just different. Okay. It's just different.
Yeah. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I always say the same exact thing. Yeah.
100%. If you want to be doing X, Y, and Z, find somebody who's doing X, Y, Z and be their best friend, right? See how you can help them. That's basically what we did. And so highly recommend doing that. And then the second thing, and I'm mentioning this because Buck struggled with this pretty tremendously, and where I didn't have as hard time with it, but that's mindset. So you can only go as far as your mind is willing to take you. Okay.
Yes.
So if you don't have the mindset to get to where you want to be, you will self-sabotage yourself and hold yourself back.
Do you believe in manifestation?
Okay, so I didn't want to get too woo-woo on you, Brittany, but yes, I am 100% energy person.
I am too.
Yes, I am.
I am reading a book right now about manifesting your life, and I've been a true believer for, I want to say 8 to 9 years now. And this is going to be a huge side note, but it all started when all my friends told me exactly how much they made. And friends don't really do that, which I wish that people normalized how much they made.
Agree.
And all my friends told me exactly how much they made. And I realized that I was not making like anywhere near what they were making. And I was like, gosh, like, how do I change my life? Like, my goal is to make more than my husband. Mm-hmm. And I know it's just a funny goal because every single year I always try to make more than him. Mm-hmm. And ever since I had that mindset of I make more than him and I just say like, I do, instead of I want, like my life has just changed so much. And now, like, I think last year I made, I want to say like $5,000 more than him. So I made that goal. Yep. And my goal this year is to make a little bit more than him again. But I'm a huge believer in energy and saying that I will, or I do make X amount and I do own X amount of Airbnbs and whatnot. Yep. And then it kind of comes true after a while because your mindset is so strong in that direction.
Yep, 100%. So. Yes, I have notes and little lines written everywhere. They come up on my phone. I have them on my mirror. I have them on my vision boards. I have them in my vision. I literally have them everywhere. And it's manifestation. If you have not heard of it or have not learned anything about it, stop what you're doing right now and go look into it because it works. It literally works and it's creepy.
Yes.
It's really creepy how well it works.
100%. Even like some of my friends are like, they just kind of are like bummed about their life. I'm like, manifest your destiny. Like, I know that sounds so corny, but just go out and just like read the books and listen to any apps or podcasts. Like, just do the work and your life will change. 100. And I know we talked about this whole podcast episode is about like diverse portfolio and automations and all that stuff. And it's going to end with manifestation, but here we are.
That's okay. It's honestly very important. And that's why my advice to first-time people has nothing to do with Airbnbs. It's literally like get around the people that you're, doing what you want and fix your mindset. Because those two things, if you don't have your mindset, for example, you're not going to get anywhere. You just won't. You will literally stop yourself. So like procrastination is a form of self-sabotage. Like all of these things, it'll stop you and you won't let yourself get there. So do a lot of work on mindset while you're starting this, because it will take you further than anything.
100%. So then how can people find you, ask you questions and all that good jazz? Like, do you have Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah. I'm primarily mostly on Facebook, kind of the older. I literally just turned 40 last weekend. So I may be in the older crowd, but I'm more of a Facebook user.
Gosh, no.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I am on Instagram, but I do mainly focus on Facebook. And it's at the Ashley Lang on Facebook.
Okay, perfect. And I do, on your email, you have a couple websites that you listed off. Is that okay if I put that in the show notes so people can find you there too?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this amazing interview. I will probably have you on again because, again, my mind is going all over the place right now. And I'm like, okay, there's so many other questions I would love to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks for joining me on the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about learning and growing together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast, for more tips, tricks, and behind-the-scene insights. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you back here soon.